Hey, what's up, everybody? It's the Fett here to finally break down some positive news about the Baltimore Orioles. And I'm not just saying that. Ladies and gentlemen, oh man, this is one of the most happy I've ever been for probably maybe a month and a half now. I know baseball just really started, but honestly, I don't know if I'm happy. I mean, the Yankees series, yeah. That had me pretty jacked when we took 3 or 4 from the Yankees, and the SkiveWalker was all depressed. But the tables have turned very quickly. We're at the bottom of the division now, but that's not going to stop me from being happy about the Royals and the Devil Rays series, as the Orioles take both from them. 3 out of 4 from the Devil Rays, 2 out of 3 from the Royals. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into it. Got a lot of stats to get through, a lot of numbers to crunch, and a lot of reviews to do. Let's start with the worst, which was Game 1 of the Orioles series. The Orioles get destroyed. Dylan Bundy was humbled. I mean, by humbled, I mean didn't even last an inning pitched in this start. For you guys that know me, I've been real high on Bundy this year. He's had great numbers, but he has been, once every 2 to 3 weeks he'll have a terrible start. I'm hoping that's what this was against the Royals. He was absolutely destroyed as he leads off my ugly of the show. Didn't even last an inning pitch. Gave up 5 hits. Got pulled in the first inning. He didn't even get through a batter. He gave up 5 hits, 7 runs, 7 earned, 4 home runs with no strikeouts. Now, for someone who's our opening day starter, which basically means you're the ace of the squad, you're number one. These are the worst possible numbers I've seen from Dylan Bundy. I would expect this out of Chris Tillman, Mike Wright, Alex Cobb, Cashner, but Dylan Bundy, no. So Bundy basically gets destroyed here. The Orioles pitchers combined for 9 innings pitched, 20 hits, 15 runs, 15 earned runs, 5 home runs, and only 6 strikeouts. And that goes for the bullpen as well, as they lead off the bad of this game with Mike Wright. He came in after Bundy. He went 4.2 innings pitched. Not bad, right? Gives up 8 hits, 5 runs, 5 earned runs, and only has 1 strikeout. That's bad. That's very bad. I mean, it's better than what Bundy did, but it's still bad. Riho comes in. He pitches 2.1, gives up 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs. He has 3 strikeouts, but he gave up a home run. And, oh, man, they got destroyed this game. I remember checking the updates, trying to log on my phone to watch a little bit of it, and by the time I pulled open that, it was the 3rd inning, and I saw this. I was not going to let my day get ruined by this. So, as you heard me last week during the podcast, when I was reviewing our ugly West Coast road trip, you heard me. I was real deflated. I was demoralized. I was 120 losses, yada, yada, yada. Well, that's how this game made me feel because I had actually previewed the West Coast road trip and then saw the score of this game. So, this is the ugly. This is the worst, ladies and gentlemen. If you're an Orioles fan, this is the worst of the worst of all the games I'm reviewing in this podcast. So it gets better from here, I promise. The Bats had 8 strikeouts, and of course 2 of those are freaking Chris Davis. Now, I have been keeping tallies. I let you guys know about Chris Davis because, number 1, I'm not a fan of his contract. Number 2, I'm not a fan of his batting average. And number 3, I think, defensively he can be replaced at first base. You can have Trumbo play Pedro Alvarez. You got a Danny Valencia. You got a bunch of different options that don't cost you $23 million a year for the next 5 years. So, of course, Chris Davis strikes out twice. But let's go ahead and get to the positives. There weren't that many. The Bats did go 14 for 40 at the plate. They scored 7 runs, which is decent. I got to give a Scoop. He had a home run, went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs, but he is good. He's progressing. He's come back. He looks healthy. But that was about it for positives in this game. So we fall to 8-27. Monday night, absolutely demoralized after seeing this. And now that I'm doing the review, I mean, this was the worst of the worst. This was their 7th loss in a row. And if you know me, you know, I had a really long week, also, so to speak, with SkiveWalker getting hitched, and I took a week off from work, and I work third, so I switched back to first shift. So I needed some type of positive sports momentum in my life. Did not get any from the Orioles. But after this, it was all downhill as they started to roll. Let's go ahead and roll into Game 2. Game 2, they win 5-3. They improve to 9-27, and they end the 7-game losing streak here. They beat the Royals 5-3. Let's get the ugly out of the way. I got one thing, and that's Danny Valencia. You went 0 for 4, bro. 0 for 4, man. Not a real big fan of the signing of him. Not a big fan of him playing third and first. Not a big fan of him playing at all. I'd almost rather his roster spot be used on a prospect. Joey Ricard or, anybody else. So, Danny Valencia, you need to pick it up. And that's from the Game 2 stance, because I'm going to give him some props later, but he still is doing terrible this year. The bad was the Bats, as they go 9 for 35. Not great, but enough to win, so I guess I really can't rip on them. My bad also is Cashner, which you're going to hear these stats, and they don't sound that bad. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, and 1 home run. People would say, oh, that's a decent start. No, that's not what we... I guess after Budney gets blown up and Tillman doing Tillman things, I should be reluctant to put it into the bad category, but I am, just because I want better from Andrew Cashner as a fan, from his contract standpoint, from a baseball standpoint, from a fantasy standpoint. I want more from Cashner. Maybe I'm expecting too much out of him, but I'd like to see him get more than 3 strikeouts. Let's go ahead and lead off now with the good from Game 2. Chris Davis, holy crap, he earned his paycheck this game, ladies and gentlemen. Despite going 1 for 3 with 3 RBIs and 1 bases on balls, he got walked. He hits the game-winning home run. He earns his paycheck. He doesn't strike out this game. And, let's all give Chris Davis a round of applause. Yeah, Chris Davis, you finally did what you need to do. There are only 3 strikeouts at the plate for us, which is another... We need to clap for the Orioles again. Only 3 strikeouts at the plate. That was beautiful. Richard Bleer, if you don't know him by now, and you've heard me talk about him, listen to this guy. He is now 3-0, okay? He's like a middle relief guy, sometimes getting in late. This dude has an ERA of .40. 0.40, okay? Officially ERA. That is awesome. To have somebody come out of your bullpen with those type of numbers, to be 3-0, to be able to go 2 innings and not give up anything, that is awesome. So, really happy for him. And I got to give it to Brock. He gets save number 4 here. He goes an inning pitched and he has 2 strikeouts. Good job, boys. The losing streak's over. We finally have a chance to win our 3rd series of the year, right? Well, oh, nice. Okay, so that leads us into Game 3, where the Orioles finally see double digits in wins. They start a winning streak, the 2nd winning streak. It's been 5 weeks since they had their last one. They're 10-27. I'm jumping out of my shoes. I'm happy. I don't even know what to say. It's just the Royals. Calm down, Fett. I can hear SkiveWalker and Har Binks and everybody else. But for me and the pain I felt as an Orioles fan and doing this show for you guys all season long, this is one of the best moments for me because it's an AL Central opponent. As you know, I reside in Northeast Ohio, so I deal with a lot of Indians fans, and I always hear AL Central's tough, blah, 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 blah. And after getting swept by the Indians, we need to beat these guys in this division because it is truly the weakest baseball division. With the rebuilds happening in Detroit, Chicago, and now Kansas City, that's 3 out of the 5 teams in your division that are rebuilding. So the Twins and the Indians, you guys have no excuse to lose any series of those trash teams. So anyways, when that means they're playing against AL East teams, I expect the AL East teams to win because I believe they're structured better. Not the Devil Rays, not the Blue Jays, maybe, but I will say this real quick. I know I've got off track here. When the White Sox heat up in 2 to 3 years, and that talent is finally producing, like it should, hopefully, because they did sell a lot. When they sold Chris Sale, they got Moncada. They got a couple other big pieces, pitching-wise, prospects. That division's going to be tough because Cleveland's here to stay. Their minor leaguers are great. They have a lot of great prospects. So Cleveland's not going anywhere. Even when they lose Kloop. They got to re-sign Frankie Lindor. Michael Brantley's looking great. But the Indians are here to stay atop the AL Central. The Twins are built to win right now. They're a little bit younger. They got some young pieces too. But Tigers also in rebuilding, and it's time for KC to probably start flipping over a new page too, as I think they are. They're starting to use a lot of younger guys. But this year, they're horrible. So getting back on track, we finally take our 3rd series of the year. Only our 3rd series. 5 weeks ago was our last winning streak from Game 3, and I couldn't be happier. The only ugly I have is Chris Davis, okay? I just praised him about last game. He earned his paycheck. It didn't take very long for this guy to tick me off again. 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, batting 171. 171. And he's getting paid $23 million. Now, I'm not quite a baseball expert, okay? I'm not certified. There's no test I've taken or anything. But something tells me in our minor league system, you could call somebody up and they might bat better than 171. But do they want to do that? No, because they're already married to Chris Davis. He's got a big, long contract. I talk about it all the time. It's getting to the point where I'm so ticked off with this guy. I don't know why I keep bringing up his stats. I think I do it just, in case there's a slight chance that someone in Baltimore actually hears me and it gets broadcasted a little bit louder. Because I feel like nobody's doing that. If the Orioles media, they just kind of accept him for what it is. Oh, well, he's a good first baseman defensively, and sometimes he hits home runs at home. Well, I don't sign baseball players to win me 1 game a month. You know what I mean? I don't do it in RBI baseball. I don't do it in fantasy. I sure in the heck wouldn't do it in real life. So when I got a guy who's batted 171 who is constantly striking out at the plate, constantly, okay? I mean, just this series, 3 strikeouts in Game 3, and then he had 2 strikeouts in Game 1. That's 5 strikeouts in this series. 5. To the Royals, who maybe have 1 ace in Duffy. So I'm over Chris Davis. Let's move on, because the next part of this, all right, if there's another guy on this Orioles roster that is blowing my mind, it's Chris Tillman. It is Chris Tillman. You know why? Because he goes 1.1 innings pitched, gives up 4 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned runs, a home run, doesn't strike anybody out. So he reverts. I don't know if he was like, well, I did better than Bundy, so I should quit trying, or what, because he got rocked again. Okay? And thank goodness he's on the DL right now. He's got an oblique strain. Buck, man, come on, dude. Like, you can't let this guy pitch anymore. Bundy going, that was a fluke game for Bundy, okay? Chris Tillman, this is a common occurrence. I mean, I'm thinking 3 to 4 times a month, and this guy is starting 5 to 6 games, and it's just atrocious. I mean, call up somebody from the minor leagues, okay? Put Tillman in the bullpen. He's shown he cannot be relied on. Let's get his confidence back in the bullpen. And if we need a spot start from him here and there, maybe take a chance on him. But constantly putting him in the rotation is doing us no good at this point in the season when we're trying to scratch and claw our way back into an AL East ladder that extends all the way to the heavens of the Yankees and the Red Sox. Stop starting Chris Davis if you want to win, all right? We got lucky here. We got really, really, really lucky. You want to know why we got lucky? Because we have Miguel Castro, who stepped in. He went 4.2 innings pitched. He only gave up 4 hits. He only had 1 strikeout, but he picks the W up. He's 1-1 with a 3.55 ERA. Okay? Give that guy a start. Even if he goes 4.2 innings pitched, he's putting better stats up than Tillman. I don't understand the ideology on why Buck and the pitching coaches haven't decided to make a switch like this. And what I just gave you was my good, because I don't have anything bad from this game. The ugly was Chris Davis and Tillman. Everybody else, okay, here's the bad. We have Jace Peterson playing third base for El Toro, Pedro Alvarez. That's about as bad as it gets in this game. Which, Jace Peterson played decent. I watched some of the game. I was impressed with him. For a guy that's supposed to be just an outfielder, I thought he did all right. Let him play there more often. So anyways, the good is the bats go 14 for 37, only 6 strikeouts. Castro, I got to give up to my boy Adam Jones as he goes 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs, a double, and a home run. And you know what? I'm going to say it now. SkiveWalker, the last baseball cast, said that Didi's the best shortstop. No, he's not. I'm sorry, Skive, but my boy, I'm going to go through some stats at the end of the Devil Race series to change your mind on that, okay? And it's early. It's probably like the first quarter of baseball. I'm actually going to do a show here in about a week after we get over 40 games. Well, we're already over 40 games, but I'm going to get a podcast together going through the first quarter of baseball and the winners, the guys at the top of the rankings for stats, because I love stats. I play fantasy, and they tell the story of the game for me when I can't watch every single game. So, Manny goes 2 for 3. 2 hits, home run, 2 RBIs. My boy Trey, 3 for 5 with a double, home run, and 2 RBIs. I mean, the bats just went off. Trumbo and Scoop are back. We're finally getting consistent bats. We scored 7 in game 1. We scored 11 here, and we scored 5 in game 2. So we finally, started batting, okay? And despite suspect pitching 2 out of 3 games, we still take the series 2 out of the 3. It's our 3rd series win. It's our first winning streak since the Yankees series, and we're almost all healthy at the plate here, all right? And that's my series review here. We need Tim Beckham back to play third base, and the Orioles will be back to full strength bat-wise. Still waiting on Zach Britton to come out. Chris Tillman, you need to go to the DL, stay there. Go to the 60-day DL. I don't care. So, they win this game. They're finally in double digits, 10-27. I never thought I'd see them hit 10 wins. I'm kidding, of course, being sarcastic. But they finally do it. And they take 2 out of 3 from the Royals. Who cares that it's the Royals? Because we won a freaking series, and I'm happy. Moving on to the next series, okay? The Devil Rays. People don't know how I act around, AL East opponents we should beat. I expect to beat the Blue Jays and Devil Rays every single year because they are crap. The Devil Rays are in the middle of a rebuild, and the Blue Jays are stuck between a rebuild. They don't know if they want to rebuild because they need to shuffle out John Donaldson and get some prospects for him because they need to just blow that whole thing up. I like Stroman, but he's on the low right now. He's fading fast. So when it comes time to look at the AL East, every season, whether my expectations are wrong or not, I expect to beat the Devil Rays and the Blue Jays. Just based on historical factors and the fact of I've always considered them the little brothers. So basically, if you look at the AL East, you have the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Devil Rays, the Orioles, and the Blue Jays. Okay, Traditionally, the big brothers are the Red Sox and Yankees. Okay, very rarely do the big brothers get beat up on. All right, but if there's a middle brother in this scenario, the Orioles are the middle brother. If there's baby brothers, it's the Devil Rays and the Blue Jays. Okay, and to me, the last couple years, the Orioles have been fading between middle brothers and baby brothers and big brothers. They just constantly move up and down the chart, where I always view the Yankees and the Red Sox because they have that amount of cap, they have a farm system, and they're a successful franchise. They've won multiple World Series recently. When they go to the playoffs, they don't choke all the time. It's difficult for me to watch the Orioles lose to somebody like the Devil Rays or the Blue Jays. But anyways, enough of that. Let's get into game one. They win this game 9-4. They are now on a 3-game winning streak after this. They improved to 11-27. Manny Machado saves us again, all right? Let's go through the good with Manny. Manny goes 2 for 4. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, a 2-run shot, and a grand salami. Yes, Manny Machado is the best shortstop in the game, at least hitting-wise. Hitting, all right. Fielding, he's still rusty. He's a natural shortstop, but all those years Buck had him playing third, and we had J.J. Hardy at short. It's going to take him the whole season, I think, to knock all the rust off in the field. Another good we had was only 6 strikeouts at the plate. We go 10 for 33. I'm telling you, man, Trumbo's looking good. He goes 1 for 4 here. He hits a bomb. Cisco's looking good. 2 for 4, hits a bomb. And then I got to get in to my boy, the Wizard of Gauze, all right? He picks up the W, improves to 3-2. He goes 7.1 innings pitched. Gives up 11 hits, only 2 runs, only 2 earned runs, and 6 Ks. I was pumped about that. Gauze has been shaky last couple of appearances, but this time he goes 7 innings, which is more than anyone has in the last couple games. And then Brock comes in and gets his 5th save. Tremendous job by the Bats. Tremendous job by Manny Machado leading us this game, saving us. Because the bad is, Manny has 6 RBIs this game. The rest of the Orioles have 3. Well, yeah, Ryan, you would have won the game even with Manny, hitting 6 RBIs. You would have won 6-4. Yeah, but I like balance, okay? And 3 RBIs by the rest of the team. Maybe Machado had his best game of the year so far. Maybe the rest of the Orioles just don't produce like that. But my ugly, we're going to go with Richard Bleer. He goes, doesn't even last an inning, gives up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 runs. When he comes in to replace Gauze, unprecedented. I just bragged about this guy having a .40 ERA, and the dude got lit up, gave up 2 runs, 2 earned runs. So it was almost a humbling experience for him, kind of like Bundy got the other night. But that's not even the ugliest. The ugliest is Chris Davis, who still goes 2 for 4. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He still gets 2 strikeouts. He still had 2 strikeouts. $23 million, and he's still striking out multiple times a game. I would almost rather see him try to bunt and get thrown out than watch another Chris Davis windmill strikeout. I mean, the dude has one spot he can hit, all right? And it's a low and away fastball. And it's almost like he golf swings those out. And 1 out of 4 times he's going to knock that ball out of the park, all right? The rest of the times, it's a weak contact dribbler or it's a fly out, okay? Or, lo and behold, it's a strikeout like he did. So, I guess I need to be positive. They're on a 3-game winning streak here. Who cares about Chris Davis, all right? Well, I do, because I'm about to lose my mind when I bring him up next game. The Orioles win Game 2 of the doubleheader, 6-3. Hess wins his debut start. The Orioles improved to 12-27, okay? Hess, he's good. He goes 6 innings, gives up 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 hits. 3 runs, 3 earned runs. He gave up 6 hits. I said that earlier. 3 Ks, 1 home run. Here's the key factor of the Hess' start I like. You want to hear this? He only threw 78 pitches for 6 innings. That's really good. If you don't pay attention to stats in baseball, normally by the sixth inning, guys are floating around 90 to 100 pitches, depending on the flow of the game. This dude threw 78 through 6 in his debut against, the Devil Rays, who aren't a strong hitting team. But that's not important. What's important is this dude got brought up from AAA, and he produced for us. Goodbye, Chris Tillman. Just leave the rotation. Just go to the bullpen. And, I don't know. Mike Wright's probably going to need to go, too. Send him down to the AAA shuttle to Norfolk. The good also was my boy Scoop, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. He had 2 home runs. Machado, 1 for 4. He had a home run. The Bats, again, only strike out 5 times. Only 5 times they strike out. It was beautiful. The Bad, despite going 7 for 31 at the plate, they still found a way to win. Which, if you heard me, you heard Machado and Scoop combined to go 3 of 8, which means the rest of the Orioles on the team, the other 7 guys, only produced 5 hits altogether. Which, whatever we won, take it for the positives, right, Fett? I guess. Trey goes 0 for 3. Santander goes 0 for 3 as well. That helps me with the bad. And then the ugly. Oh, my goodness. Chris Davis, no strikeouts, but he still went 0 for 4. His batting average now, 176. 176. A guy whose salary, all right, at $23 million, okay? He doesn't strike out this game, so I can't go to my number one thing is, he's a strikeout king. No, he just goes 0 for 4. His batting average falls now to 176. He doesn't do anything. After playing hero the last 2 games, he's been terrible. Terrible. Game 3 of the Royals, 0 for 4. Game 2 of the doubleheader, or Game 1 of the doubleheader, 0 for 4. He is bum cheek. Orioles pick up the win, like I said, 6-3. They improve to 12-27. Nice job, Hess, on your debut. Let's go to the second game of the doubleheader, which was Game 3, and the Orioles get spanked 10-3 in a rain delay. The winning streak ends at 4 games, I apologize. 4 games, and this was pretty ugly. The Bats, 4 for 30. You're never going to win a baseball game going 4 for 30, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care who's there. And, lo and behold, who am I bringing up again? Who was I just talking about? Chris Davis, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. Batting average now drops to 170. This is the last time, okay, I may just quit talking about Chris Davis because despite getting wins, despite playing hero once this week, he still finds a way. I mean, I own 2 of his jerseys, okay? It's getting to the point where I don't wear his jerseys anymore. That's how embarrassed I am of this guy and our management and Duquette for giving him $23 million a year to bat 170, to go 0 for 4, to strike out 3 times against the Devil Rays. Jeez. The bullpen also is the ugly as they give up 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 Ks. Mike Wright, Yacobanis, and Ariano just got slaughtered. Cobb didn't set him up for any help as Cobb is part of the bad. But if you listen to Cobb's stats, he didn't do that bad. He goes 5.2 innings pitched. He gives up 7 hits, 4 runs, and 3 earned runs, okay? Doesn't have any strikeouts. He loses. He goes to 0-5. His ERA now 7.06. I just was commenting about, players who don't necessarily earn their salaries. This guy hasn't earned his salary at all this year. He shows up late to spring training, signs a late deal. They give him $40 to $60 million. And what's he done? He's 0 for 5 with a 7 ERA. Bartolo Colon cost somebody less than $1 million, and I think he's like 3-4 with a 5 ERA. What are you doing, DeQuette? Did you do your homework? I mean, I know he's playing his former team, so there's probably a little incentive for them to beat up on him. But man, just terrible. There were 7 strikeouts at bat. It wasn't good, as, like I said, they went 4 for 30, so nobody was hitting, period. Well, that is unless you count Trey Mancini. Machado, Scoop, and Davis go 0 for 4. Trumbo, Valencia go 0 for 3. The bats didn't show up. It was a bad game for us. So we lose the second game 10-3. Mancini did all right. He went 2 for 3 with a home run and 2 RBIs, but the winning streak's over. The Orioles dropped to 12-28, and not really much to say after that. This whole game, too, with the rain delay in the 6th, was trash. They got blown up. I guess in their minds they thought that, hey, we won the previous 2 games against them. So who knows? They take the L here. Not happy about it. I hate losing to the Devil Rays, as I spoke about and I lectured about earlier in the cast. I just you can't win every game, I guess, but I definitely think the Orioles will pass the Devil Rays in terms of the AL East basement. My final game, the Orioles, Game 4. All right, this game right here pumped me up so much, okay, because it was Mother's Day. I'm recording this Monday morning, so yesterday was Mother's Day. It was my first Mother's Day with my fiance and our infant, and she comes, she's a big Indians fan, so she's bragging, Indians are up 3-1, blah blah blah. I said, how many runs you score? I think she said like 8 or 9. I said, that's cute. And she's like, what? I'm like, the Orioles are winning 17-1. Yes, the offense exploded. They scored 17 runs. 17 runs. Okay? That is 1 less than they had scored the previous 3 games combined. Okay? They scored 18 in the 3 games against the Devil Rays before Game 4, and then they just exploded. Okay, they improved the 13-28 on the year. I mean, you know what the uglies were? There were no uglies because Chris Davis didn't play, so there's nothing to report for the ugly here. When you win a ball game 17-1, there's no ugly about it. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I don't feel bad for the Devil Rays at all because we needed to show that. We still have the bats, okay, to back us up. We are still going to win games at Camden Yards where we just outslug teams, no matter how bad our pitching is. This was an example of that. It helped that Bundy did great. He was part of my good as he picks up his 2nd win. He goes 7 innings strong to bounce back after his terrible performance against the Royals. He proves a 2-5 on the year. He only gave up 2 hits, 0 runs, 0 earned runs. He had 7 strikeouts. And ladies and gentlemen, I was bragging about Hess in that doubleheader of Game 2, how he had 78 pitches through 6 innings. This is what I'm talking about. Bundy kept his pitch count. He only threw 100 pitches in 7 innings. That's not bad. That is what we need. We need to see more of that from Dylan Bundy as he comes out, plays a great game. The offense helps him. I mean, the offense exploded. They went 19 for 44 at the plate, okay? Awesome. Only 5 strikeouts all game. You want to know who the star of the game was? Do you guys remember Joey Ricard? Yeah, he's been at AAA all year. First game I've seen him come up, he goes 3 for 5, 2 home runs with 5 RBIs. Joey Ricard. Oh, man. Sorry, Gentry, but you got to sit if this guy's going to play like this. Machado, he goes 3 for 5 with 2 RBIs, has a double, scores 3 runs. Machado's batting average, 350. 350, best shortstop in baseball. And then I ripped on Danny Valencia really bad for going 0 for 4, right? Well, he goes 4 for 5 here with 4 RBIs, a home run, just tore up. The bats, everybody was clicking. Basically, this was our I hope was our coming out game. I hope people saw that and said, wow, they're healthy. Well, almost. We need Beckham back. My series notes for this, actually, D Hart was the bad as he goes 0 innings pitched, gives up 2 hits, a run, and 1 strikeout. They gave up a run, so what? They didn't shut out, but to me, it's still bad. 17-0 sounds better than 17-1. But at this point, I'm comparing, nickels and pennies, and I should just be happy. We scored 17 runs. We won. We won another series. We've won 2 series in a row. You know what I mean? In our last 7 games, we're 5-2. What do you have to cry about, Fett? Nothing, because we're 13-18, and things are looking up. This was the best week of Orioles baseball we've had all season. And everyone's going to say, man, you're so pumped up that you played and beat up on 2 below-average teams. Yeah, I am. You want to know why? Because we're a below-average team. We had single-digit wins. Now we won 5 games in the last week where we were struggling to win 1, where we lost 7 games in a row. So the bat's coming alive, the pitching stabilizing, Manny Machado on a tear. We got Trumbo and Scoop back, and they're helping us at the plate. And we took 3 out of 4 from the Rays, and now we're only 4 games back of them in the AL East. I am going to, like I said, I think we're going to pass them, and they're going to fall to the basement. And I think we're going to come back and pass Toronto. But that's only if they get the same type of production as they've gotten this week. Okay, the bats were pretty consistent. They had their 2 cold games. Obviously the 4 for 30 in Game 3 of the doubleheader was pretty ugly, but it appears that they showed signs of life. So to me, if you heard me last week, I was just such in a bad mood with baseball. The Penguins had got bounced, so I lost hockey. I was losing baseball. And, I'm nervous about the Cavs series, especially after going down 0-1 last night. So right now I'm still looking for my positive, and the Orioles stepped up this last week, and they were my positive. Real quick, SkiveWalker threw out DD, Frankie Lindor, a couple other guys for best shortstop. Let's just talk about AL. That's all we're going to talk about. The NL guys, I'm not worried about. Listen to Manny Machado and where he ranks today, okay? He is 8th currently in walks, all right? He is 2nd in AL batting average. I think he's behind Mookie Betts. He's batting .360. Mookie is. Manny's batting .350, okay? So he's 2nd in batting average. He's tied with Mookie for the most home runs at 13 right now, okay? And he leads the AL not only in hits at 55, but 38 RBIs. He leads the AL in. And the last category I'm going to bring up, I don't know how many hardcore nerds I have listening to this about stats. If you know what slugging percentage is, kudos to you. Because Manny Machado is batting .669. It's got the 2nd best slugging percentage in the AL. So he leads in 1, 2, 3 categories. He's 2nd in 2 big categories. And then he's in the top 10 for walks. SkiveWalker, my question to you is, where's your boy Didi in all this conversation, man? Is he in the top 10 for batting average? I mean, I know he's got 10 home runs, but I don't know, man. If you're asking me right now, statistically, who the best shortstop in the game is, it's Manny Machado. Maybe not fielding-wise, because I'm sure Manny's got a lot of errors charged to him, shaking that rust off. But we're talking about pure hitter, shortstop, producing for their team. It's got to be Manny, man. And I know you want him in pinstripes. I know you do. But you guys don't need him with Didi and Torres starting to heat up too. So after reading all those stats to you, if you're an Orioles fan, you realize that management has to re-sign this guy. If it takes a $300 million contract, then that is what it's going to take to keep Manny in Baltimore. I know he wants to win. I know he might entertain the idea of going and playing elsewhere, okay? But at the end of the night, money talks. And if you give this guy the money he thinks he deserves, which is going to be an expensive A-Rod-like contract, then that's what it's going to take. He's been with us his whole career. Why do we want to lose that? So Duquette, I hope you guys are, well, I don't think you guys would ever listen to me, but if you are, you need to put all your bag of tricks into Manny Machado to get him re-signed. But if not, we're in big trouble. There's a big hole. And he's leading the majors on one of the worst teams in a bunch of categories, baseball-wise. Doesn't get any better than that. Players don't get better than that. That is this dude realizing, A, it's a contract year. B, dude, he's become so patient at the plate just watching him this year. And, I've watched him for most of his career. He's my favorite player. And, it's a painful thought to hear that he might leave, or we might trade him to the Dodgers or this team or that team, because he is my favorite player. But at the end of the day, if there's one thing that makes me happy about the Orioles, even though they're 13-28, it's Manny Machado. I mean, the dude's just a monster. That's the only prideful thing we have. We sucked all those years, okay, in the 2000s, and we didn't have anybody to hang our hat on. J.J. Hardy was a joke. Even dating back to my younger years, watching the Cal Ripken, the Albert Bell, the Roberto Alomar. I mean, I'm talking young, like 5, 6, 7 years old, all right? Those teams, I was young. I didn't get excited. Even watching game clips of them, I don't get excited. When I watch Manny Machado come to the plate, I get excited. I feel like something's going to happen. Bearing injuries, he is liable to have a great statistical career, where if he can produce numbers like he has been, he could possibly go to the Hall of Fame. And I know it's so young in his career. He's in his mid-20s, blah, blah, blah. He's not even going to play with the Orioles the whole time. Yes, you're right. But he is, right now, the best shortstop in baseball. And without further ado, I'm going to open it up to my boy, SkiveWalker. I'm sure he's got some nice responses to this. Take it away, Skive.
What is going on, guys? SkiveWalker here and Fett. Thank you so much for the handoff. Thank you so much for another great video, another good reporting. But I do have a couple things I gotta say. First off, I wasn't too upset when Baltimore took 3 or 4 from the Yankees. It happens. It was early. Also, the AL East, like you said, is definitely the best division of baseball, and it's so difficult. All divisional games, like we have talked about before, they're going to be a challenge. Whether the team stinks or not, whether they're good or not, every time you play somebody in the AL East, it's going to be a good old-fashioned slobber knocker, like good old JR would say in the WWE. Every game's a rivalry game. Every game's tough. Number 2, I never said Didi was the best shortstop in the league. At the time, he was playing like the best shortstop in the league. You could make the argument for him. Not saying that he was, because I do think Machado was the best shortstop in the league currently. But at the time, his name is in discussion, and it still is in the discussion. The guy is still a very talented shortstop. Still one of the best shortstops in the league, and I have a bunch of stats I'm going to get to here in just a minute. But come on. Is there really a debate over the best shortstop? Because it's not Didi. But at the time, the streak that he was on, it was hard to find another shortstop playing better than him. So at that current time, I wouldn't take anybody over Didi. I still, other than Machado and Lindor, probably wouldn't take a whole lot of other players. Maybe Correa. Maybe not even so much Trevor Story. But I do like Didi Gregorius. I'm glad he played on the team. And if I couldn't trade him straight up for Machado, I'm not ever going to give up Didi Gregorius. But here's some stats I want to get over. Because you were just going AL, I'm going to go over the entire Major League Baseball. Because if you want to get the best shortstop, the best player in baseball, you got to go over both leagues. So for batting average, Machado is number 1. Of course, Machado's killing it this year. Didi is tied for 12th. But Didi has also went through a cold stretch. He was 0 for 30 for a while. Yikes, that's pretty rough. You don't want any of your best players to go 0 for 30. But it happens. He went through a cold stretch. He started to get some hits in these last couple games. He'll be all right. Lindor, for you Indians fans, for you guys local, Lindor is 4th in batting average among shortstops. Also having a pretty decent year. On base percentage, Machado's leading it, of course. Lindor is 4th, and Didi Gregorius is 7th. Slugging percentage, Machado is absolutely destroying in this category as he's first, Didi is fourth, and Lindor is second. Now here's where we have a little bit more of a shakeup. Wins above replacement, Frankie Lindor is number 1. Machado is number 3. Didi is 7th. So Lindor, based on the wins above replacement, is better than Machado for his team. Now, you take that stat, you leave that stat, whatever. I'm still taking Machado over Frankie Lindor, but just wins above replacement, Lindor is number 1. I believe it was by 0.8. I believe Frankie Lindor is at 2.1 and Machado's at 1.3. So it's still not, it's not a gap. Let's put it, it's not very big. The OPS, so the on-base percentage plus the slugging percentage, Machado is number 1. Didi is 6th, and Lindor is number 2 in OPS. Now we're going to go to the hits. Machado is number 1, but not far behind is good old Frankie Lindor. Machado has 55 hits, and Frankie has 54 hits at the time of this recording, which is on Tuesday. Hopefully I can have this video up for you guys today. Didi is tied for 10th with 38 hits. Machado, our boys go 1, 2, 3. Machado 1, Lindor 2, Didi is tied for 3rd with Trevor Story. But Machado's number 1 with 13 home runs. Lindor has 12, and Didi has 10. So it's been a while since Didi's hit himself a little bit of a dinger, but that's all right. Like I said, he went 0 for 30. He had a little bit of a rough stretch. So it's all good. It happens. RBIs, Machado's number 1, Didi is 3rd, Lindor is 6th. Fielding percentage, Carlos Correa is number 1 in fielding percentage, as he has not made an error yet this year. Didi is sitting there 8th. Machado, man, bro, that dude's sitting down at 15 for fielding percentage. But even worse, Frankie Lindor is 25th. Ouch! Down at the bottom. Can't make a play to save his life now. Anyways, guys, I was just having some fun giving you some stats there. But, of course, Machado's the best shortstop in the league. What I meant, if I had any confusion about that video, wasn't that Didi was the best shortstop, but that at that time, the way he was playing, you had an argument for it. He's still probably a top 5 shortstop in baseball, like I said in that video, like I said in that podcast. And to me, he still is a top 5 shortstop. Like I said, if I'm not trading him straight up for Frankie or Manny Machado, I don't want to get rid of Didi Gregorius. So in my mind, he's my number 3. Maybe because I'm a little bit biased. Maybe Carlos Correa. I could probably take him over Didi Gregorius, but to me, Carlos Correa is too hot and cold, too hit or miss. And normally, other than this one stretch where Didi went 0 for 30, he's pretty stable. You know what he's going to get. He's going to hit between 290, 300. Good ball player. So getting right into the Yankees, I only have a couple games to go over. Yankees took 2 of 3 from Boston. We even tried to come back. We tried to come back in that 3rd game to make it a sweep, and we tied it up. But then Dellin Betances blew another game. J.D. Martinez hit a home run off him, and Boston finally took a game from New York. To be honest with you, I really wouldn't mind seeing what the trade market is for Dellin Betances. I love the guy. The guy has a lot of potential. He's very dominant. He has a lot of good stuff. But he's too much of a head case, and you really don't want that at a bullpen. Same thing with Salazar over in Cleveland. The guy is so talented and has so much potential and has such good stuff and could be one of the best pitchers in baseball. But he can't get it right between the ears. And pitching, mental is everything. You always have to have the mental edge. Being a pitcher in high school, basically for the majority of my life, you definitely have to win the mental game more than anything. If you don't win the mental game, you're going to lose everything else. So with Salazar and Betances, those are 2 guys that you hope that they can figure it out because the talent is there. But I'm kind of run my course with Betances. I'm ready to go, ready to get rid of him. See if I can get some more prospects, maybe a starting pitcher out of it, and let him be somebody else's problem. So the next day, following up Boston, we had to play Oakland. We dumped it. I mean, we had a bad game. It was 10-5. But coming off a huge win streak like that, and then you had to take on one of the best teams in baseball that also happens to be the best rivalry in baseball. And trust me, Yankees players hate the Red Sox. So once you go from Boston to play a team like Oakland, you kind of fall off a little bit, and Oakland took advantage. We came out flat like I expected. We struggled. Sonny Gray got lit up by his former team. 5 innings, 9 hits, 5 runs, 2 Ks. Gave up 2 home runs. David Hale came in, pitched 3 innings. He got hit hard as well, giving up 4 hits, giving up 2 runs, 2 home runs. David Robertson, oh boy, normally one of the best pitchers in baseball, one of the best bullpen guys anyway, and probably the best setup guy. He pitched an inning, gave up 3 runs on 1 hit, 2 walks, and a K. The guy just struggled. He had a bad game. Game 2. was an exciting game, fellas. The Yankees win 7-6 on a Neil Walker walk-off. That's our Neil Walker walk-off single. The guy has struggled all year. He's finally starting to get some hits, starting to contribute a little bit. The Yankees started off this game 2-0. The Oakland Athletics surged back to make it 6-2, but then the Yankees tied it up in the bottom of the 5th, and then there wasn't another run scored until Neil Walker ended it in the 11th. Dominico Germain, he struggled like I figured he would. He had a great start against Cleveland, but as everybody knows, normally when a young pitcher has a great first start, their second start probably a little bit of an iffy. Just like when somebody throws a perfect game or a no-hitter or comes even close to that, the next game they normally fall off a little bit. But that's all right. So the Yankees win this one 7-6. Game 3, the Yankees take it 6-2. Giancarlo Stanton went 4 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Giancarlo Stanton's finally starting to hit a little bit. He's getting his average back in the 250s. Coincidence, starting to heat up. Normally when Stanton starts to get on his hot streak, the temperature has to be a little bit warm. As we all know, it was kind of a rough winter into spring being pretty darn cold. But now here in Northeast Ohio, it's going to start staying up in the 70s. So I think we're finally getting out of it. In New York, weather's just about the same as here in Cleveland. So being over in New York, as where it's been cold, it's been a little bit of a struggle for Giancarlo, but now that's warming up, he's looking pretty good here again as well. Severino pitched this game, went 6 innings, 5 hits, only gave up a run, had 7 Ks on the day. Again, pitched like an ace. He's proving every time out that he's a top 5 pitcher in baseball, other than maybe Kershaw, Kluber. You know, there's a couple other guys you can put on this list. Chris Sale. There's not a whole lot of guys you could take over Luis Severino. The guy he's a gamer. I mean, every time he comes out on the mound, you know you're going to have a very good chance to win, and you expect to win those games. And Severino does it again, giving him another case for the Cy Young. With the Red Sox losing again yesterday on Monday, the Yankees are now officially a half game up on the division again, and they're also a half game up on having the best record in baseball. That's going to change off and on. There's so much baseball to go. We're only a month and a half in, so there's still a long way to go here, guys. Whether your team is sitting at 500 like the Indians are, or you're following off a big win streak like the Yankees, or even if you're struggling a little bit, there's still so much baseball to go on. So much is going to happen. You can't really guess on who's going to get hurt and expect which players are going to get hurt. But injuries are going to become a big factor. Pitching staffs, whether they get worn down or not, same with the guys in the lineup. There's still a whole lot of baseball left to be played, so you don't want to predict early on. But even still, I'm still, like I said at the beginning of the year, I'm still picking the Yankees to win the World Series. But anything could happen. I mean, Aaron Judge goes down, Didi goes down, Giancarlo goes down. If Luis Severino goes down, the pitching staff's in a world of hurt. So anything like that happens, and then the Yankees are going to be in trouble all of a sudden. And then I look like an idiot for picking the Yankees to win the World Series. But again, barring any injuries, the Yankees have one of the best teams in baseball. I fully expect them to go get another rotation guy, probably at the trade deadline. I'm hoping a little bit sooner. Maybe give up Betances and some prospects, get a top-end pitcher, maybe number 2, just to give us a nice 1-2 punch with Luis Severino and whoever we go pick up. I mean, CC Sabathia's been great. Tanaka, though, you never know what you're going to get. So if we can move Tanaka to the 3 spot, move CC to 4 and put even Sonny Gray at 5, and then have that number 2 pitcher right there, that could be something elite. Or even if Sonny Gray can step up and be that number 2 pitcher like we traded him to be, then we have a third guy there. Just makes the rotation a whole lot better. Makes it easier for the bullpen. Now, Fett, back to your comment about me wanting Machado. At the beginning of the year, you're right. We had a discussion. I would absolutely have loved to see Machado in pinstripes. But after seeing Miguel Andujar and now that Gleyber Torres is getting called up, you're right. We don't need him. And for that, I really don't want Machado anymore. You may say, why would you not want the best shortstop in baseball? Well, here's why. He's going to command a lot of money in free agency. And for a team that maybe needs 1 or 2 more pieces just to make that World Series run or that postseason run, the Yankees really don't need that. As we made it, we were only 1 game away from the World Series last year. We added some better pieces. The pitching staff's going to get the gel a little bit better together. I would rather us not spend the money on Manny Machado, but spend money on like a Clayton Kershaw or a Corey Kluber when he comes in for free agency, or maybe even a Carlos Carrasco. One of these top pitchers in baseball to pair with Severino, because as you all know, well, as long as you're a baseball guy, pitching wins in October. Pitching is what will carry you to the World Series and will help you win the World Series. If you don't have a good pitching staff, you will not make it. You just won't make it very far at all. You probably won't even make it past the first round. So unless Manny Machado can play center field, man, I'm kind of good on having Manny Machado. I'm liking Miguel Andujar over there at third. I love Didi at short. I love Gleyber Torres at second. If Machado wants to play first, I guess we can do that too. Maybe that's our one hole is Greg Bird's always hurt, and you never know what you're going to get out of Greg Bird. But other than that, guys, Fett went on a little bit, which was a great podcast. I don't want to extend it too much longer. Just want to throw in a little bit of Yankees talk, give a little bit of aspect on what the Fett said and kind of elaborate on it and talk a little bit more about it. So other than that, guys, that's all I got. Make sure you guys hit up A&B Masonry. I'll leave the phone number there in the comments. They are your first and second options when it comes to any kind of your masonry needs. Make sure you hit up Tyler Alto. The guy's fantastic. Guys, if you guys decide to go with them, you will not have any regrets at all. I promise you, these guys are the best. Very personable. They'll take great care of you. Whatever you want, they're going to get it done, and they're going to exceed your expectations. So definitely make sure you hit them up. I'll leave the number down in the description. All right, guys. SkiveWalker signing off. Peace.